Well, Uzuhan, thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for coming. And for people who are watching the video, we're in a new space. Shout outs to Space Crew. They have a really dope, really like professional recording studio. They have even like a live on air sign. So
I
that,
just noticed that.
yeah, so people know not to bother us. But yeah, James, thank you so much for being here again.
Thanks for having me.
And before we get started, I have to mention this. This episode is kind of a momentous occasion for me, as not only as a not for the podcast, but just personally. I think it shows a lot of growth because you are the first guest that I didn't like. If I every single one of my previous guests, I either knew personally or I got some sort of like referral, as in like
Right.
someone talked to that person for me to say, hey, like I have a friend who does a podcast. But you're the first person that I'm just really introverted.
Okay.
So you're the first person I actually like kind of reached out to.
Oh, cool. Like
Yeah.
a cold call almost?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, hold on. Sorry.
Oh, is it a little too crazy?
No, your level was too low.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, now.
Cool. That should be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably edit it later.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see. We'll see. If
Yeah. We
I
could
have-
start it over. We could do it over if you want.
No. I think it's good
Okay.
because now we'll get to hear your voice way more than mine now. So
Okay.
yeah, just can you just kind of briefly introduce yourself and who you are, what you do?
Okay. Well, I am Uzuhan. I am also known as James Han. That's my government name. I am I work doing IT support full time. I'm also a musician. I'm also a video producer. I do a lot of stuff. So I'm not exactly sure who the audience is, but I go with like that full-time job first because lately I've been really into talking about having a music career while balancing a day job.
Yeah,
And I love it.
because I saw your new song that's about to be released. STA, was it same thing?
Same things anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's just an acronym because typing same things anymore is too long.
yeah. So is that kind of what you talk about in that song, balancing?
Kind of. That's like one part of it. I think that's one of the bigger points of the songs. It's like what I used to be was I used to be ashamed and afraid that people wouldn't take me seriously if I was like, oh, I do music like kind of part-time.
Yeah.
Realistically,
Right.
like when I go do tours, like I have to take off work, but I feel like I have to put on this image that I'm all in. Otherwise, you wouldn't be all into my music.
Right.
But
right.
even that expectation is kind of silly when I
Right.
like say it like that.
Yeah. That's so interesting because the kind of the success stories that we hear are of people who kind of
Risk it all.
Go all in. But that always seems so unrealistic to me. Like I don't understand how someone can say, I'm just gonna do this and it's life or death. Like I'm either gonna succeed or I'm gonna end up a homeless person, Like what a crazy proposition.
It is. I mean, I just don't like, I'm fine if people live that way, but I just didn't like that it was kind of like seen as a standard. That was my problem, that if you don't do this, you're not doing it right.
Right.
And that I always thought was kind of funny, and I never really could unpack what that meant for me until now.
Do you know of people who... So, first let me ask you, what in your definition would be like making it in your like industry?
Man, I think I wrestle with that phrase all the time, actually. I think it's changing all the time. But currently, I think for me, making it would be being able to create the thing you want to at the quality you want to, at the speed you want to, and having the impact that you want.
I see.
Or like, because I'm not even really that big, but there are certain, I guess, artists, there's a certain, I guess, stage in the career where you can kind of expect a certain output, or you can really strive to see certain big dreams happen. That's kind of what I feel like would be making it. If you have, I guess, the ability to pay for things, ability to like get it to, I don't know, a certain, even a number, I don't know.
Like income wise.
Even hitting your goal, I think that's making it. Like, I think that's great. I mean, yeah, your goal might not be crazy, but I don't know. You get to create. So many people are afraid to even create.
Right.
I
mean, some people would say that you've already made it. I mean, not only because you have a very large following. I feel like you're being humble when you say you don't have.
I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, even like I think I mentioned this before we started recording. Your song "Never Change," like the viral sensation that it was. That's kind of like making it in and of itself.
That was crazy,
right?
Yeah. That was the thing that got us on the scene. So it's interesting because that video got 1.5 million views back in 2009, and that was really cool. But that was the beginning for us. So, I mean, looking back now, we could be like, yeah, that was making some big splash. Yeah. But for us, in real time when we were experiencing, we were like, oh, there's more to be discovered. So that was the baseline. And in some ways, it probably made us sometimes feel like, oh, are we not doing enough? Or can we live up to, that one piece of legacy?
Right.
I don't think that way anymore, but I definitely did when I was younger.
Yeah. No, because I can only imagine the mental effect that it would have had on someone. Because in terms of music, were you making a lot of music before that?
Prior to Never Change? No.
Right, so it was kind of like
your my first song,
your first at bat, and it's grand slam, right?
Yeah.
And so having to live up to that.
And I didn't know anything about the music industry or the business of music. I knew nothing.
Yeah,
I was just at that point, I was sold the pipe dream, and I was smoking away. Right. I was like, how do I keep that imagery going? But that's where I was, young 19-year-old, thinking that meritocracy could carry me through the music industry. If I build it, they'll come. Yeah. Even though I'm very different, I look different. There are so many things that in the business of music I didn't really understand. I didn't understand what the market was like. Right. I didn't really understand what my position in society at large, was going to be. So there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. So it was really pure love for music. Yeah. That was really the only thing.
Yeah. And at this point, I want to say, if you guys want to get James's kind of full story of from Never Change till now, I feel like you did a really good job on the When I Grow Up podcast with Blair. Yeah. So definitely go listen to that. But what I wanted to talk to you about is kind of what you talked about just now. People expect you to look a different way. People expect you to even rap about different things. And what's so interesting to me is in what you do with music, there is a intersection of three very different cultures. One being hip hop, one being Christianity, and one being Asian. Yeah. And
you nailed it.
Yeah, and you mention it a lot in Blair's podcast, even not explicitly in those terms, but you say things like, oh, you talk about struggling with how your Asian culture sometimes gets in the way of how you want to chase your dreams and things like that, right? So I thought that was so fascinating that you're constantly having to juggle that. So yeah. And to start off that conversation, I want to ask you about an interaction that you had online on your social media. Yes. I just read it and it was so interesting to me. It was you threw up a 30-second clip of you rapping to a beat or something. Yeah. And you said a curse word, right? Quote unquote. And then someone was like, but why are you cursing though? And then to me, it's well, why is that so bad? And so how did you feel when you got that comment?
Excuse me.
No worries, please. Please.
Yeah. I mean, they know it's water. I think for me, I what it means to be we'll segment it into three tribes, I suppose. Okay. If you are making music for the Christian tribe, there are rules and boundaries. I'm very aware. And I mean, I live with principles and boundaries myself, informed by my faith, my identity, things I've learned. Okay. I live with all those. Yeah. And for a long time, which a lot of people know me as, I've lived within that tribe doing amp. Right. And it's not and I'm 31 now,
Yeah.
I'm just a grown man,
Yeah.
and for me, like, I just felt it was within I felt very at peace with my decision,
Right.
because I speak a certain way, and it may not be the best,
Mm-hmm.
may not be the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how am I trying to say it? I didn't really feel that bad about
Right,
it.
right, right, right.
I felt at peace with it,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, I guess I'm always trying to explore, like, different parts of my humanity, and, like, different things I feel at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it fit. And I also, I feel like I don't really fit in with that Christian tribe.
Mm.
I'm not, and that's hard for people to understand if you have never tried to shape your brand, image, likeness, appearance, and try to, like, market it to the world.
Right.
Because you notice when you are an artist, or an entrepreneur, or putting a product out to the world, you become an anthropologist. You study the behavior of human behavior patterns, and you start to notice how the Christian tribe, certain parts of it start to operate. They start to. I'll use Lecrae as a great example. He was exploring his identity as a black man in America. If one of our friends were like, yeah, I just feel like, I want to learn more about this, blah, 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 we'd be all for it. But I noticed a lot of his audience, who are very Christian, expect him to be perfect and almost dehumanize him.
Yeah.
They flogged him for just expressing,
Right,
and he's
right.
not cursing, like. So I say all that because I discovered, in the Christian tribe, like, I was very different, even when I lived within the means, even when I lived within the boundaries,
Right.
and I feel like I was not part of that tribe or accepted. And even this whole idea of being accepted by a tribe, that's like an old sentiment now for the version of James you see now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just what my thinking was, and now, even the video of me, like, cursing, I'm just like, like, am I gonna curse in every song? No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna do however however I feel.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my discernment,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to convey something.
Yeah.
There's a certain message, and if the cursing does get in the way, if that's the thing that gets in the way of hearing the message, wow. I mean, that's interesting, because I feel like there would be things in the message that would actually deter you. Like, just the language you use is, like, very. What's the word? Like, if that's the thing that bothers you, I don't think you can handle what's coming.
Right, right.
It's a lot of really, like, when you talk about identity, justice, self-acceptance, faith, like, when you talk about these things, it's not pretty. It's not neatly bowed. It gets very ugly.
Mm-hmm.
No one goes to God and they're just speaking pretty language. No, most people are gonna go to God and they're like, I'm effing angry at you. Like,
Yeah.
why did you do this to my family? Why did this happen? Nobody goes like, oh, great art
Right.
thou, hallowed, be thine. Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, Lord's Prayer. But
In
I'm
the
just saying,
King James like language.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's chill. If you talk like that regularly, no problem.
Right.
But most people, and I just feel like I'm all about authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's pretty important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to really explain it. When someone gets me about the language part, I accept it, and I'm very open to critique, conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and hearing another perspective. I'm very open to it. But when someone wants to push their agenda on me, without considering me, I don't really appreciate that, because I will take time to consider almost anybody
Yeah.
if they come to me with a open heart.
Yeah.
And compassion too.
Yeah.
So
No, I think you really you hit the nail on the head, because it is about consideration, I think. And when you see someone, especially at your stature in terms of influence, and numbers and all that kind of stuff, I think it's so easy to just be like, oh, he's just an entity that's in my screen and not really a human being.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then they'll just be like, well, no, you're supposed to fit into what I expect of you. You're not supposed to like
Right. Don't
have
be
your
complex.
own thoughts. Right, exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't work.
Yeah. So no, yeah, because I thought that was. I mean, I get it. I get when a Christian person listens to someone who they like expect to be a Christian artist. Like you were saying, there are like parameters within our faith of like things that are acceptable and things that are not. So I'm not like trying to knock on the guy for like asking that question.
Oh yeah, it's a valid question.
Yeah, but I just wanted to get your take on that, and I think I think it kind of boils down to you're a complex human being, and you know, Christianity, as much as it has been shaped to look like this really pristine, pretty thing to the outside world, like it's really messy. You know, there's like I'm reading through like Genesis right now, and I'm at the part where like Lot and his two daughters go to the mountains, and the daughters are like, we need to have sons, so let's get our father drunk, and like sort of like there's like a lot of just like really wild and really like dumb things that humans have done, and it's like the message is like, you know, God's gonna cover all that, but to say that the semantics of it is gonna get in the way of you hearing the message, I think you're right. It's very odd.
I think also I just don't like how people want to just sanitize everything, just kind of pour bleach on everything and just say, oh, that's what Christianity should be like. I'm not very interested in making Christianity or my faith journey with God like sanitized. I think that is actually a true injustice, and the exodus of people from the church is proof. The proof is clearly in the pudding. You could see it, you know. I'm sure you've talked about it a lot, you know, on this podcast and with friends. Like there's a reason why people are leaving the centralized church that is trying to program faith to look, especially with open hand issues,
right,
to make it look a certain way. And it's like for you to like try to categorize and bottleneck the essence of the human spirit into like one shade of thing, you're gonna lose that battle. You know, that's like corporate America at its best. That's capitalism at its best. I'm not trying to make any statements. I'm just saying what it is. You know, I like making money.
So I mean, because and the reason why that particular interaction kind of caught my eye is because like 2 episodes ago, I had a friend on, Andy Shin. You know Academics?
Yeah, I know Andy.
Yeah. So he was on, and he was like, "Can I curse?" And from the start, I was like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." But then, like afterwards, I ended up like, I didn't bleep it. I just like put the decibel down whenever he did curse, just to kind of take it out. But like, I don't know if that takes away from kind of the sincerity of what he was talking about, or like I still don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it was okay to do that, or if I should have left it in to keep it genuine, or so I mean,
that's a tough battle. I mean, it brings, I don't know, I just noticed it brings a certain kind of people that are willing to listen to me. I've just noticed, I mean, I don't want to make a judgment call, but the people who are really, really like against me, well, I don't know. There's the parental perspective. People are like, I don't want my kids cursing. I was like, okay, I get it, because you can't socialize your kids to curse, because in their current settings, it won't flow, because everyone's not in agreement with that.
Right.
You know, as an adult, it kind of is okay, you know, but as a kid, if, you know, kid's like, yo, F you, like the whole time, the teacher's not going to be, you know, it's not going to work well for them in that setting.
Right.
But you have that, you know, but I know what it's like to be a pious Christian. I know exactly what it's like. And I just reflecting back on my posture and how I viewed other humans, other people, when I was caught up on just semantics, a lot of times like it was just my easy way to box them into like, oh, they are, I will judge them, fold them into a neat little package in my mind and cast them aside. You know, and I thought they are this person. You know, because maybe I was mentally a little lazy maybe, or I didn't know how to process complex human beings because I thought God wanted me to be sanitized, you know, live with pretty tied up bows everywhere I go, you know. So I just know the people that are coming, you know, who don't mind that particular thing are probably maybe open to other stuff that, you know, require a lot of self-reflection and honesty. And I don't know, that's my audience, I think. And I've just figured that out for myself,
right?
Because that is authentic to who I am, you know. So yeah.
And like my personal, just to kind of get it out there, my personal philosophy on cursing is I'm not opposed to cursing. It's just for me, I don't curse unless the situation demands it. I feel like there's real power in words. I mean, hence why I do a podcast, right? And so like if I need to evoke strong emotional response, then I'll throw in a curse word to like convey this is the level of severity of the situation or something like that. Yeah. And like I think that's okay, right? And
I think so, but I mean, you don't have to live with my approval, you know, like.
No, but okay, yeah. So thanks for that. And in that, because like we were talking about the intersection of those three cultures, like in hip hop, like these days it's hard to hear like a rap song on the on the top 10 charts or whatever that don't use curse words, right? So I feel like to a certain level, it's kind of like ingrained within that culture.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of navigate that as a Christian who obviously like in your music you don't really curse?
Yeah.
Like
no,
I don't think I've heard a single in any of your Spotify songs. There's no curse word.
Oh, I've heard it. Just one.
There's one.
Yeah. Which one? It was for Ashes.
Oh.
Yeah, I say yeah.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm. But I kind of say it like. I kind of say it abbreviated though.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but I do kind of what's the difference between sh and then the other word? Right. It's the T. Right, I just focused on the T a little more. Right. I did like a t, you know. That's it. But that's considered a curse word, so got flagged and whatever.
Really?
No. I knew it would be flagged.
So then
for like radio edits and stuff like that, for like my sync licensing and like stuff like that, they want clean versions as well, and it's just easier. I think, like. Because you have to make the explicit and the clean version, and I think it's annoying having to master 2 tracks. It's more work, so I'd rather just keep it all clean, and it allows me to be more creative. That was ultimately like why I just didn't curse, because it was a creative boundary I created for myself. Like I just wanted to see how much could I evoke without cursing, you know, and I think there are some limitations. I really do think, you know, but. I'm okay with it. I don't know, like one of the songs I have coming out like next month, like I did curse, but I censored myself because I didn't want to make an explicit version. Right. So yeah, I just.
Oh, I see. Because I know in that, so you were talking about Ashes. Is Ashes in Uncanny? Is that
no? It's just a single. I've been dropping a lot of singles. Yeah.
Because in your Uncanny album, the first song with lyrics.
Oh yeah.
Tom Hanks, really catchy song, guys. If you haven't heard it, listen to it. But I mean, lyrics is he's like I don't know how you guys feel about these kind of labels, but I wouldn't call him like a Christian rapper or anything like that, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's Christian who raps.
Right.
However he wants.
But I mean, in his music though, he curses, and I think there is a verse that he did in that song Tom Hanks, and. Like it's bleeped out.
Oh yeah, because he says like pho. Yeah. He's talking about food, but it sounds like you know, like.
Oh, okay.
We just did to be kind of like tongue in cheek.
Right. I see.
To be kind of playful, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's.
So like when you have guests like on your music, like do you guys talk about that? Like what words you should say, you should.
No, I haven't really talked about it. Like if someone were to curse on my record, interesting. No one has done it because I think I don't curse in my music, so that signals to someone like featuring like, probably doesn't want to curse, no problem. I think I probably would censor them currently, just because I don't want to do more work. It's the laziness.
I see. Yeah, no, because and that is part of the intersection, right? Like people who are in like in that genre of music. Like they're like I would say I don't know lyrics personally, but like just listening to his music, he's definitely okay with cursing in his own songs, right? So yeah. So if he did, like before you guys recorded, if he did ask you like, hey bro, like would you mind if I drop the F-bomb? Like, or like would you
That would be
rather not?
respectful. I think I take it as respect, you know, and like consideration if someone asked. Yeah,
And-
I would say feel free, but I'll probably censor you.
I see.
No
Okay.
problem. Yeah.
And so then that's kind of the that's some of the touch points of Christianity and hip hop. But in regards to like the Asian culture, do you feel like you have to moderate your content kind of through a filter of your Asianness at all, or do you not really think about that?
Oh, interesting. No, I never thought to do it that way. I think. Wait, hold on. No, that's partially not true because I did want. So this, I think there's just a lot of self-discovery, self-acceptance I've had to go through the past like 3 years, since like or 4 years, I guess at this point. So I did want to put forth my Asianness, but as I did that and time went on and looked back, I was like, oh, okay. I think that was good for its time, but as I get older and I learn more about myself, learn more about my actual history as a Korean diaspora, you know, and Asian Americans' history, you know, since the 1800s in America at large. I don't know, something about that, learning about my history just kind of expanded how I interacted with the idea of race, because I'm realizing like, okay, race is a big issue, but it's so woven in with classism, and classism is way more insidious than racism. You know, they're tied, you know, but classism is, I think, what, you know, creates like colorism, a lot of isms, but you know, like it's just, there's something, classism is what is like a huge divide for all of us, you know, because you could have everyone in the same middle class, different colors, you know, we're drinking the same Starbucks, you know, we're shopping at the same stores, we have the same shoes, you know, there aren't that, we're watching the same shows, consuming the same media on the same devices, you know, there are a lot of commonalities there. Yeah, sure, like I know race will determine how, shape a lot of us, but I think even larger than that, I've just seen like classism just be that, like just seeing how the rich, you know, or the have and have nots interact with each other. That's wild. You know, I have to check myself too. You know, it's insidious.
Oh, okay. So then are you saying then that you're more considerate of like how your class influences your music?
I don't. Interesting. It's a good question. I'm
Sorry,
not sure.
This is all off the cuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, please take time to think.
I think I am currently not like at this moment, I'm not focused as much on like trying to get everyone to know what it means to be Korean American, because I think in this point of history, we still like, we need to figure out, we're trying to figure out what does it mean to be Korean American? Like that's a question I asked within myself, and I don't think it's processed enough, and you know, to like, you hear bits of it. But I just figured as I live my life, as I create the music that comes out of me, create the content, you'll see what it means to be Asian American along with me. Because I don't think I totally know. People have tried to think like, oh, it's boba, that's what ties us. And I'm like, cool, I'm cool with that. But we like, it's not just a singular thing that's going to tie us together. It's going to take centuries. It's going to be past us, you know, where people will start to the formation of their identity will feel more rock solid, you know. So that's something I'm just learning in real time.
Then let me ask you this, because you grew up in Maryland, right?
Correct.
And when did you move to Atlanta?
2015.
So it's pretty recent, relatively speaking. So I always had this theory that the Korean American identity was being formed in silos. So there's like a Korean American identity in LA that's probably similar but very different from like the one that probably in Maryland and here in Atlanta. Would you say you've kind of observed that, or is that not true, you think?
Yeah, I think Korean Americans or Asian Americans in Georgia have a very particular experience. I've seen differences all over, you know.
Mm-hmm.
People in California, they know what it's like to feel like the majority.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of cool,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
You see all sorts of people. You know, in New York, you have a lot of business owners. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of affluent Asian Americans. I mean, yeah. Um, and I see how people in New York interact with each other. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like culturally very rich there. There's a lot of interaction.
Hmm.
LA seems like it's just kind of a bunch of Asians just hanging out with Asians doing Asian ass things. Oh, oops. Oh yeah, just doing like Asian
No worries.
things. Yeah. I mean, ass is in the Bible.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like I see that. And then Georgia's very interesting because you're in the South.
Mm-hmm.
South has a reputation, good and bad, whatever, you know, and um, I've noticed for me, I've learned the most from my black friends. The black community here is rich.
Mm-hmm.
You know, DC used to be Chocolate City, but like Atlanta is like the capital of black excellence. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
see wealthy black people and families and entrepreneurs and thinkers. I've learned from so many black people here, and like I think being in such proximity to that community allows like Korean Americans or Asian Americans to have a I don't know. I feel like it's a much more informed empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Like when stuff with Black Lives Matter was happening, I think it's really cool that folks who don't actually have black friends could empathize. I think that's super great.
Right.
For me, it wasn't just like that. It wasn't just only that. I saw my literal friends in Trayvon Martin. I saw, you know, in like the black people who were murdered. I saw my actual friends. You know, I kind of feared. I was like, dude, like, don't get killed, please.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are people I actually love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I don't know. I think I can't. I don't know how to describe it, but it just creates like a certain kind of a deepened understanding that perhaps other people who are not around in close proximity to black people or certain types of people who, you know, may not be able to fully understand.
Yeah.
I think that's very unique for Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other Asian Americans I know in other states, they just kind of talk to other Asian American people.
Mm-hmm.
And in Georgia, I've seen, you know, a big partnership with the black community.
Mm-hmm.
So when, you know, Stop Asian Hate was going on and, you know, a lot of people were having, specifically like black people I saw on the internet, they were saying like, oh, Asian people are like this, da 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 da. For me, I saw that and I'm like, well, I wonder how many people, Asian Americans or whatever, that person actually knows. Vice versa, how many black people do these Asian Americans online, you know, spewing all their ignorance? Are they in proximity to each other? Do they have people they actually care about?
Right.
You know, so I'm kind of rambling on. Yes, I see a difference
Mm-hmm.
in different regions.
Yeah. Oh no, that's really, I think that's good insight, because yeah, like you can't really separate the hip hop culture with the black culture, right? Because they were the pioneers of the genre. And so it's really cool that you kind of engage in that culture on like multiple different levels, not just the music aspect of it.
Yeah, I grew up on that is very interesting. Like I grew up listening to hip hop, but it wasn't like it was given to me. My parents didn't play it. It was my refuge. It was my way of processing and understanding the world. I heard about rap music from school, and then I dug into the internet to find music, and I bought CDs. And you know, it's actually crazy. I bought this shirt like back in high school. You know, like Tribe Called Quest. This is like a vintage shirt. It's become vintage
Right.
from a long time ago. But like in middle school, I would just like, if anyone had like a prompt, it would be like, "What is James Han?" I would write like, "I'm hip hop." You know, it wasn't just a cool factor for me. It was like when I heard rappers like tell their story about, you know, police brutality, abuse, you know, trauma, you know, and also wanting to find pride in themselves. Something about that really energized me and gave me hope that, oh, maybe I could have some sort of like respect for myself too. Because growing up, you know, as a younger kid, it's not like I loved being Asian. I actually didn't like it. I wanted to be I wanted to be not Asian. You know, I wanted to be white and black. So, you know, the black narrative in hip hop was one of the ways I could have a grip on the world. You know, so for me, hip hop is more than just a cool genre to like a little jacket to put on because I want to be, you know, I want to ride the mainstream wave.
Right.
You know, like I've dug into the history. Like I know, you know, I know the legends.
Right.
Like I've studied them, you know, and I've learned from them from afar.
Right. So then like is as an Asian like American, when you look to like, because I'm sure as a Korean person, you look to like other Korean hip hop artists to find inspiration and to find role models. Like, how was that like? Because I'm just thinking about kind of like the history of hip hop and how it hit the mainstream in Korea. Like, I would say it probably started with like IHTHT, and like one of the boys of IHTHT and boys started like the YG label and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, did you, because like the messaging in that music is very different from like hip hop in America, right? So did you kind of have like an identity crisis at all in terms of like trying to figure out like where do I belong in this like place called hip hop, and like how like what type of identity should I assume?
Yeah, my entire career. Yeah. I mean, that's, where do I begin? I listened to Drunken Tiger when I was younger. He was probably one of the first Asian faces doing hip hop that I was exposed to. And then shortly after, I saw Jin, and then Lyrics and Manifest. Lyrics and Manifest, their song The Gift, was actually the reason why I started to like pick up a pen and like start writing my own stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Or like, and record myself. Sorry. Like prior to that, I was kind of writing poems and things, but when I saw them do it, I was like, wait, that means I'm allowed to rap too. Like I can actually sound good. Maybe I can try, because if he could do it, that means I could do it too.
Right. And did you like weren't they in Maryland?
Yeah, they were, and they happened to be in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really close to Maryland where I grew up. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean that was even perfect. I got to meet my idols, you know, like and they became friends, and I'm just so grateful for them, you know, that, and they're, even for them, and you know, there are other Asian Americans like Jin, the MC, or Chops from the Mountain Brothers. They've gone before us to like pave the way for Asian Americans to create the art of hip hop. Yeah. And even for them, like figuring out their identity is you know, that's what they're continuously working on. Yeah. You know, because, well, yeah, like so many like the legendary DJs are Filipino, you know.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so like Asian Americans are ingrained in the history of hip hop too. It's just not necessarily always talked about. B-boy culture like got elevated because of Koreans, you know. You have a lot of Latinos and like Hispanic people at the core of who, you know, Afro Latinos were part of hip hop. So the statement, yes, it's mostly true. Like hip hop was born is part of Black culture, but I don't think it's only Black people. From my studies and what literal people from the actual boroughs of New York are telling me, you know, they grew up like Big Pun, you know, they grew up with a bunch of, it wasn't,
I see. Yeah. So, I mean, that's good to know, but because it's interesting, the people that you mentioned, like Jin with like, and like Lyrics and like Manifest, if I think about kind of their music and what I was exposed to, like not a single one of them kind of stayed in a single lane. Like you see an evolution of like who they are as a person, and like kind of like their journey in finding their identity as a Asian American artist. By the way, I feel like Jin doesn't get enough credit. Like he was like, I think he was one of the first Asian, if not the first Asian American like rapper who got signed to a big label.
Mountain Brothers were the first.
Were they the first? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They were in the before Jin.
Okay.
Like a little bit before.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
But then Jin was the most popular because of BET and got the most like TV coverage.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. And then do you feel like he, like, Because I mean, I didn't. I think I listened to a few of his songs in the first album, and sales wise, his first album didn't do stellar,
Yeah, I think
right?
so.
So would you say that Jin still kind of broke ceilings for people like you to come like after him, or
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yes and no. I think the way I feel like Jin, and he's kind of mentioned it in interviews, he was like kind of tokenized a little bit. People didn't know how to utilize the fullness of his personhood in creating, like they just felt like they had to, the thing that people will find unique and relate to is that he's Chinese,
right?
and go with that. But it's
Yeah.
like, dude, he was a dope rapper.
Right.
Like, let that be it. Why isn't that enough? But it was a different time then, and that was kind of a unfortunate thing. But that helped Jin a lot. Like people still remember that, like 106 in Park, Jin.
Yeah,
It's legendary.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, then let me ask you the question: as you navigate these three cultures, what have you found the most difficult? Like well, in terms of like who you
Wow.
are as a person. Like
Yeah.
let's talk about this first. Then like have you felt like you had to compromise who you were as a person to fit a certain mold or to intertwine certain cultures together?
Man, it's complex because currently I realized up to this point I've realized no one is going to do things for you. No one's going to put you on like that. I shouldn't be expecting that. I wanted to be signed, and I don't think I realized what that meant. Now as an independent artist, I'm glad I'd never signed, nor do I even think I had the marketable face that corporate America or the hubris of society could really accept, And people think that statement is crazy because they look to BTS, they look to other big Asian faces, and things are changing actually quite fast. But the thing about it is, like, I've realized, like, it doesn't matter. I realized, like, it doesn't matter what my face is. It's like one of the things I realized is I was just kind of lazy and I didn't have money. Like, those are the big reasons. Like, people are like, oh, you should blow up. And in my mind, when I thank them, but really, I'm thinking, well, if I wanted to really blow up, I would need to put $50,000 behind my Facebook ads.
Dang.
Then I would blow it up. Yeah,
Right.
because the music is good.
Right.
And I have a decent enough image. It's possible, but I don't have that money, and like I said, that's why it's the money, and then it's laziness, Like, I could put out get a business loan for 50,000 if I wanted to, if I really, really, really believed in it. So does that mean I don't really believe in it? You could argue that, but for the most part, it's just like I don't think I could justify that. Talking to my wife too. Be like, hey, let's pull out 50,000 for Facebook ads. I have no idea what I'm doing though. Let's do it.
Right.
Like, no, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. So is that kind of the biggest, you think, hurdle in kind of?
Yeah, I think like just the money part of it and like finding, for me, because I think I've been able to create my own sound, forge my own identity. I'm almost kind of like fortifying my brand right now currently. I have a lot of parts, I'm currently just wanting to get my business acumen up and understanding of the industry. Because if I want a label to fund stuff, like, I have to probably fit a certain way of doing stuff. And I've just realized over the years, like, I have to just have water in my cup. I just have to be someone who does my own thing, and people come to drink the water I supply. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. I'm not trying to chase. I used to just be like, here's my cup, like, please, like, can I have some food and water? Like, please help me. And I was just like, man, I just need that's why I love what I'm doing right now. having a job. I can fund my own projects because I believe in me, and push it out. You know, if I wait for someone to like co-sign me or to shout me out, you know, whatever, I've played that game, and I realize like, one, you're never like, I guess it's in any business, but if I don't have perceivable value for somebody, a lot of times people will just not talk to you, not even give you the decency to return your texts or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not perfect at it either, but I've tried to do less dehumanizing things like that.
Yeah.
And try to just treat people with respect.
Yeah.
And that kind of effort and that way of living has been very great, because I've been humiliated and disappointed a lot by people who I thought I was just being genuine with, and I thought they'd be genuine back because I'm a decent artist. But I realized, like, yeah, I didn't have enough clout, whatever. I didn't have the perceived value that they had, because people are just focused on making sure they're good. And I understand. I'm like that too. So I just had to like really, like, it's hard, but stop taking things personally.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to, you know, put more like boundaries and respecting myself, you know, more at the forefront of things.
Yeah.
You know, because before I'll be like, I'll do anything because I need people to love me, because I need money to fund my projects. But now I'm funding my own projects. So I don't need you to like me, actually. I don't like how you mistreat me, you know?
Right.
So like, forget that.
Yeah.
I don't need you in my life.
And
know?
you don't have to compromise like the content.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't have to pander to all these artists in the Christian world, in the Asian world, in the, you know, whatever world. Like, I don't feel like I have to pander anymore. And, you know, like, I'm not perfect at it, but I feel really good that I don't have to pander to people. I can just fund my own things. I'm fine having my, you know, my audience, and I'm going to keep bringing people to us who will appreciate our message. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think the fact that you've put the message at kind of the forefront, like that's like what your goal is. It means that, yeah, you're right. You don't like, because I can imagine if you really wanted to get signed with like with Lecrae, like what his label or whatever label he's part of, then you can go really hard on like the Christian part of it, right?
That was James in 2017, 18. Yeah, wanting to be signed to their label. I'm not saying it was all that, but I was definitely like had my eye, you know, for that, and it informed some of my decisions.
Yeah.
But I don't like being in that Christian industry.
Right.
Because, here's another thing. Like my style, in which the way I approach hip hop or music, it's just more musical in general. Like, I didn't like how a lot of rappers, especially in the Christian world, I just realized a lot of people are like this. They just kind of look to what's popular and then make a bastardized version of that. But they're not as good, because the person who made this sound popular, they were like in the purest form, you know, like really good at it, because that's who they are. They didn't necessarily think like, oh, I'm going to sound like this person. They're just like, this is who I am. I must get it out to the world, you know? And then they make it and people are like, wow, that's interesting. Cool. I'm going to copy you, you know? Like, dude, there's so many Christian artists I know who are just like a broke version. They're not even as good. They're literally just a like saying bastardized is generous.
Right.
Like, it is so bootleg.
Wow.
It's not good. But that goes into like understanding human behavior, like, and the utility of music.
Yeah.
Some people don't care, and that's totally fine. I was imposing in some ways, I don't want to impose my high view of art and originality to people. I don't want to do that, because some people, they don't really care if this Christian artist sounds like Future or Drake. They only care to have rhythmic music for their church service and no cursing. I don't care if his lines are corny. Doesn't matter. It serves his purpose. You want to create a fun environment for your people.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's honestly chill, you
Yeah.
know? I don't care to do that actually.
Yeah.
I view it more from I think I am an act like I feel like I'm more of an artist, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I have something I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
There's something I want to comment on
Mm-hmm.
in society, and that's it just happens to be kind of poppy,
Mm-hmm.
have a poppy sound.
No, you can. It's definitely conveyed in your music that you do have a lot you want to say. That's actually
Yeah.
one of the reasons I reached out to you because I can tell you are a person who like wants to get whether it's through music, and I was hoping, and I'm being proven right that you do convey those things to your words as well in
Yeah.
interview form. So yeah, no, it's definitely we can see it that in your music you are that level of a person. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's really good advice for people. It's aspiring artists too. I think if you're only chasing being signed or only chasing like monetary value, then I don't know if those people are fully aware of the risks and the risks to their message or artistic style.
Yeah, and it's the goal. Honestly, if you're just because you can make a business around, I will say mediocre, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe not as original music.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a whole business around that, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So if your goal is just to have like just live off of making music, you know, like some people have been able to just, you know, sell their art and make a living off of it. But there are some people who just, you know, want to be able to express, you know, and they don't care that they sound similar, or they may not even know that their taste is so limited. They don't even realize that they just sound like everyone else, you know, and they're, you know, listen to, I mean, you know, I don't know Lecrae like that, but listen to, you know, stuff. Look at the biggest artists. A lot of them, the only people I think in Lecrae's like label really making like creative stuff is like Andy Mineo, you know, like he's actually like wanting to push himself.
Yeah.
I respect that. But yeah, man, like just, what I was saying for younger aspiring artists, like the thing that when you follow that model of wanting to be signed, I think in the long run it's gonna hurt you. From what I see, because I've been low key doing music, I guess, since 2010, and I still, you know, even though so many trends have gone, you know, past me by, I'm still able to like make relevant music and create tasteful stuff because I've worked on my taste, wanting to develop my own taste. And I think that's actually starting to shine now. And I think will continue to shine 20, 30 years from now because I'm not going to stop the way I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, for me, when I see a new style of music, dance, whatever, my immediate gut reaction is not to look down upon it. That's when you find yourself thinking like that, that's when you know you've become old.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Right.
you know, like if that's or if you want to stay there. Actually, It could be your gut reaction because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's dumb, but I don't stay there. I'm like, okay, I think that's dumb, and I am older. But let me see the good in it. Let me see like there's clearly a reason, you know, even if it is fabricated and, you know, some label or company has pushed millions into this thing happening, there's something about it that is inherently good or something about it is good. So I always try to look for that and then try to like, I guess, understand it. And that I think has allowed me to keep creating stuff that is even relevant to younger people. Because the stuff I'm making now, like, yeah, I'm not trying to be trendy, but I'm aware of trends and I might use you know, like some sort of like rhythm pattern, or I might use a certain word, you know, that I've come to understand. I'm not just going to like pull in everything, but I'm continuing to progress and grow. And if you're not working on your sound and the product, if like you're going to burn out, there's not going to be much left for you to do in the music department. Now, if this is why I said you can get away with mediocre music, you know, because if you're a pretty good business mind, you could probably stretch this music career that you create. You know, you could probably become something else. You could probably become I don't know, podcaster. Maybe you could become like a speaker, you know, off of that marketing machine that is your artistry, you know? So there are different ways you could do it. But for me, I've been able to just do music and I'm trying to grow, but I know that the product of music that I make won't change because I've worked on making it the tastiest I can.
Yeah.
You know, I really relate to like chefs in one sense because they obsess over their product, obsess over editing and like and doing different variations and trying to get to just, you know, the purest like best dish. Period. So yeah, that's my long-winded thing because like I think younger artists, it's so hard to like want to be original if you're online all the time. If you're constantly staring at and comparing yourself to other people's sounds, it's really, really hard to be original, I think. You know, you have to like kind of shut that off a little bit and just start forming, you know, and you have to do that over and over and over throughout the years to really create your sound. That's, I mean, yeah, there aren't too many people that sound like me and my, you know, and same with like Sam Ock. We've had that same ideal for years, and it's not like a flex, but I'm gonna flex. Like nobody sounds like me for a reason.
Yeah.
Like because I've put 10 years into quietly in my own bathroom, you know, just like obsessing over the idea, you know, like and you can't fake it. You know, like it's undeniable. I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but it's just you cannot deny that I have a unique flavor to me. And it's not just because like I thought of a clever marketing ploy. That's not really it either. It's just I focused on what I love. Oh, I love this part. You know, I'm inspired by disco. I grew up listening to disco. You know, I just love rhythmic things. I like dancing. You know, and it's so all these things just like kind of mix into the dish. You know, that is my music. And you know, I've been able to curate something over the years, and now I'm fast at doing what I do. You know, and in a few years, I'm probably going to have to reinvent myself again and keep getting better and keep doing what I do even more efficiently.
Oh, that's awesome. Because if you were to, let's say, like when you were talking about like in 2017, you were like hoping to get signed to like a Christian label.
Yeah.
If that happened, then the development of your sound to what it is now might not have happened. Right?
Nah, dude, I would have sounded like some sort of like CCM. Like, I would have. Oh, actually, I shouldn't name names. That's mean. Just sound corny. Like I know I probably would have sounded corny, and I would hate my records.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's really refreshing to hear that, and I liked how you give practical advice. Like, you know, if you're okay with just making money, then yeah, it's okay to do certain things. But for an artist, like the lane you've chosen seems like a really good mix of, you know, like you have your day job and it can not only support your lifestyle, but also fund what you're doing in your music as well.
And I don't have to pander to anybody. I love that. Like having to pander to the Christian hip hop market. Ugh, it's awful. Nobody respects me. Nobody shows me dignity. Or not nobody, but like a lot of times, like, you know, I was at this one like showcase where there's a bunch of like, you know, Christian hip hop artists, and they all are my peers, I guess, or know who I am. And when it was time for my set, I thought, or I didn't really see, but, you know, a few of my friends were like, yo, no, none of your friends, your hip hop friends, like even looked at your set. They've never seen me perform, you know? And that's fine. You don't have to. I'm not expecting that they be my fans, but I don't know, something about that one particular interaction paired with so many other interactions where I had I guess I wanted people to like me mindset. I realized, oh, well, first of all, I think my mindset was incorrect to begin with. Like I shouldn't have expected people to like me, you know, or wanted to be part of the crew, you know. But that's what a lost person is gonna want. Find belonging somewhere. Right. You know, and I was afraid to find belonging, like I guess musical branding belonging or whatever. You know, like I feel very confident in being like a son of God, you know, like and I think even that identity I was afraid to like kind of like sit, you know, and find home within this. I wanted to find it elsewhere because I was afraid to deal with everything here. So yeah, when I look back to when I was younger, I was still making stuff that resonated with me. But I just know my insidious mindset. I wanted to be signed. I wanted to be the biggest. I wanted to be the, you know, bigger than Lecrae, but the Korean version. Right. And, you know, go to like the Dove Awards and like win a Grammy and all these things, which, you know, you can pay for, first of all. So like, it's not even like, yeah, dude, it's all a freaking like smoke and mirrors. It's just it's kind of like corporate America where you can just kind of like it's a lot of fluff.
Right. Right.
You know, and I'm the person that really, and in churches, I hate the fluff. Like anybody who's like trying to fluff it up too much, bro, I just lose respect. I mean, I did that too, but I try not to be as fluffy anymore. Only when I have to, and I'm like dancing for other people who want me to fluff, you know?
So explain what you mean by fluff.
I noticed in corporate America or like shoots with like larger companies, you do all this dancing to do this one small menial thing that you wasted thousands of dollars to do one task. Like for me, I feel like there's just a lot of inefficiencies.
I see.
You know, things that could take just 1 week will take 3 weeks to seem more productive. It's a big dance, big monkey dance for, you know, for the paycheck. And it's fine. Like I dance too at my job, like, you know, at my jobs. I will continue to dance. I just, I think if I didn't have music, I'd be really, really miserable at work, you know?
Yeah.
But I have a way to like release that tension, I think,
Yeah.
you know? And yeah, a lot of dancing at like in churches too, like corporate churchianity, like there's so much, bro. Like, especially in the South, so many big churches here that just want you to like, just want to use your image and likeness. And that's what I've experienced. I feel like people, if I wasn't the face and the, you know, like presentable person I was, would people really, you know, want to mess with me like that? I don't know. I think about that because I'm a nice face to add to your bulletin board to make you look, you know, diverse, you know, like these places that hire me, you know, do they really care about the person? They don't have time to, unfortunately. So even if they did, you know, I'm just a face that walks by, performs, jumps up and down, and then leaves. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Gosh, you know, and that's one of the things I personally struggle with a lot is I kind of going back to like your peers kind of only looking for value. Like, what value can you provide? Like, that's the way that I believe the world views everything. So it's hard to like navigate. Like, so like even with me, like reaching out to you, like honestly, like it's not like my podcast is of any value to you. You know what I mean? Like your audience is way bigger. I mean, I guess you get to sit down and talk for an hour and a half or something or whatever, and it might be fun. But like in terms of like actual value, I feel like there's very little. So like that limits me in the sense that I only target people who I feel like either I have enough personal collateral with to like kind of cash in and say like, hey, like I know I can't provide value, but like, do you want to be on my podcast? Or if someone like I can actually provide like benefit for it, then like I'll reach out. But like it's such a difficult way to live, especially outside of corporate America. Like I deal with it at work enough, and to like bring that into my personal life, like it's so hard. So like
all I know it's frustrating, dude.
Yeah, and all that to say though, I think it's just like I'm hoping that conversations like this can kind of get us out of that mindset, you know, like, and especially, I mean, I think in all aspects of life, but especially in your personal life, if you're calculating like value propositions with like relationships and things like that, that's
whack.
That's too much. It's way too much.
That's so exhausting.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So like let me ask you a question. If Lecrae called you up right now and said, hey, I really like your music. I want you to like come talk with us at a label. Let's see what we can, you know, make happen. Like, how would you feel about that?
I would see what kind of resources I can exploit. Yeah, for my benefit. Period. Yeah. Because I think they have good business. You know, that could really help like my music get out there.
So it wouldn't be an automatic yes.
To work in a business, it would be a yes to work in a business, some sort of figure out what kind of business capacity, but kind of like what I was saying earlier about like the holding the water. Like I see the value I have, actually. I have a lot of value being an Asian American face who thinks about how the world works and my place in it. Like what you have to say, what we have to say is very valuable. You know, and when we go to a company that's like, oh, we'll just buy, you know, we'll buy you lunch so you could like make us look good. You know, it's like, dude, no, you have to pay me. Like, I'm not going to let you use my likeness just that easy. Right. You know, I know it's flattering that someone believes in me, but it's like, like I believe like the validation that I want to find in like corporate America or big companies who are like, James, you're worth, coming to our platform. Like that's not enough for me anymore, because I guess unless I believe that company cares cares for more than just their bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just save your ass from being canceled.
Right. Yeah. That's
like, I don't want to be part of that.
That's a very mature and seasoned thought process, I think.
Yeah. So when, if some label were to be like, hey, like, you're so dope, like BTS, oh my god, if they give me that, like, I'll just be like, oh, okay, cool, give me your I'll play nice, and then we'll let the lawyers and the attorneys talk about it, look at the contract, and I don't care to pander to you anymore.
Yeah.
Because when I did want to pander to you, it didn't really, things didn't pan out, and that's cool. It was supposed to happen that way, but now I see my value.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, and maybe it's because I'm getting older. Like I'm a very friendly person, but I've become more okay setting boundaries. And if someone wants to, like, I don't know, think they're closer to me than not, I'm more okay just being like, no.
Right.
Respect my space.
Yeah.
Before I wanted everyone to like me, because my career was on the line. Oh, that's another thing that's really great about having a day job. My music career, now I don't have to be scared that, like, oh, if I say the wrong thing or if I don't say the right thing, my music numbers are going to go down. Oh, I don't fear that anymore. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to say anything like how crazy could I really get? But I'm just saying, like, I'm not afraid. Like, if I was part of a label and all I did was music and I cursed, oh my God, that would be the end of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even think that.
Right.
Now I can. I'm not saying that's the whole reason why I want to have a job, to curse on a song.
No, right.
But you totally get it. Like, everything isn't in this basket, and I feel actually more creatively free. Yeah. And I feel like the passion can be pure again, and I'm having fun making music again. Yeah. So that's another reason. So if a label approaches me, I'd be like, that's cool.
Right, but
we'll
it's
see
not
if the
like,
deal is good.
Yeah, and I think people who aren't married or who don't have a family don't know this, but the fact that you, like, whatever happens with your music, or like for me, for my podcast, whatever happens with this is not going to impact the livelihood that I can provide for my family.
Yeah, we can eat.
We're good.
Yeah,
like, there's no reason to, like, worry about it.
Yeah, we need to eat.
Yeah,
and music was unfortunately unable to do that only, and that's fine. It took me a few years to, like, really grieve that. Yeah, because I wanted music to feed us, but I realized it couldn't feed us in the capacity we needed. Right. It still feeds us a little bit. It feeds us like the special, like the nice meals, I guess. That's what it is.
No, and I think that's the whole part of, like, this whole story, this narrative that we're sold a lot of times is you got to be okay to, like, starve yourself, to neglect your mental health, to, like, do all these, like, make all these kind of unreasonable sacrifices to make it big or to do something that you like. But, like, I think we're seeing with people like you, like, hey, there's a really, like, fair middle ground where there's a lot of benefits. Like, oh, sure, I'm not getting signed to a label, but you're still making music that you like. At the end of the day, you can respect yourself for the music that you make. Yeah. And you're providing for your family. And, like, what else? Like, what else can you ask for?
Dude, I love my life. Yeah. Like, it's great. I don't have to, like, I didn't think I realized how much pandering to people, like, and pandering to the haves, those who have, to, like, put me on. It's so exhausting.
Yeah. So you're just to shout out your new song that's about to come out September 30th, right?
Yes.
But you can hear it early by texting ST82. Do you know the number off the top of your head?
Yes. It's like 1-888-981-7119.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my, like, text number.
Okay.
Yeah. So people can, like, fans text me all the time.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, I'll put that number up on the episode description if you guys
please do that. It's like it's like a app on my phone, and I interact with people that way instead of just being on Instagram only, because I don't like being on Instagram. Like, it's so draining for me.
I'm sure. So sorry, time check. It's like 3:30 now. Are you
Oh,
okay
okay.
for a few more minutes?
Yeah,
or-
I'm good.
Okay.
I have plenty of time.
Okay, yeah. So, because I I did want to ask you about like your relationship with Sam,
Mm-hmm.
because you guys did kind of, I guess the song that you guys first did, Never Change, was
Yeah.
together,
Yes.
and then you guys did like Amp together and all
Yeah.
that. How has it been kind of doing your own things, kind of in different lanes?
It's well, it was more, I think, growing pain for me because when I started out, I had no knowledge about recording anything. I'm not the most technical person. And then AMP happened. I think I just had raw talent and passion, and that was being shaped by a more mature guy in Chung and a very technically savvy guy and like visionary in Sam. So for us to be paired together like worked really well, you know. But while being in a group, I mean, you can only guess like if everyone is proficient in doing stuff, and I don't need to worry about recording myself, you know,
Right.
as much. I don't have to worry about that. I mean, that's kind of my role was to do like video stuff, you know, and media. So that's kind of how I was able to develop my own skills in that way, you know, with Photoshop and
Yeah.
like video production. So like when AMP stopped, I was like, oh shoot, I got to worry about the business side. Like I know nothing. I've been in this music thing for what, 6 years at that point, and I knew nothing. I just knew how to rap and write my own songs. And I mean, it wasn't totally nothing because I knew how to make a good product, I think, you know, so no, I did know how to make a good product. So
Yeah.
I think it's been, the process has been me just figuring out the business side of things, figuring out the market, you know, those kind of things it's been hard, you know, but still
Well,
learning.
Like just through social media and what I've seen, it's clear that you guys are still like really good friends.
Oh yeah, that's my guy. Yeah.
So is it like weird that you're not doing music together anymore, or like was it something that you guys had to be like, well, like what was the decision point, I guess, of deciding to do your own things?
Well, so Sam was always doing his solo thing, even while AMP was happening.
Okay.
So he kind of balanced that, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, I guess maybe I have things that are outside of AMP that I want to explore. Those are the early workings of, you know, what you see now. You know, the thoughts that I had back, like now, they were bubbling back then, and I didn't know how to get it out because I was like, that's not Christian. That's not going to get assigned to a CCM label. You know, like it wasn't in line with those boundaries, parameters. So I think once AMP stopped, we both just kind of knew, hey, it's time for us to make our own stuff. Sam had been and already had a burgeoning, you know, solo career at that point, especially in Korea. So I was like, well, you know, I have a lot I could learn from Sam, and I'm gonna do my own stuff as well. And I mean, we work together all the time. Like he mixes my stuff to this day. You know, he's like part of my family now.
Yeah.
You know, so and he's a trusted friend. So if I have a thing that I'm concerned about, or I'll be like, hey, listen to this. What do you think? I trust his opinion. You know, I'm very fortunate to have somebody like that, who isn't just, he like thinks very differently. You know, so
I guess on the kind of starting from like even before this podcast, the big question I had was like, how do you juggle the three cultures? And
yes,
from just everything I've heard so far, it sounds like the answer is by being uncompromising, like just kind of finding your own path when the traditional paths that you think you need to go to like make music doesn't work out. Like you make your own path. Like that's evident in like your like the fact that you have a day job and the fact that you finance your own stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, that's the answer. For a lot of people who might be struggling between like different cultures, it's that having that fortitude, being uncompromising and saying like this is what's genuine to me. This is what's authentic to me. Like that's what I'm going to pursue. Would you say that I captured that correctly? Or is that...
Yeah, I think so. What do you think is tension that is experienced by other people when balancing different, I guess, worlds?
So I think with like one thing that I go through is Christianity and like corporate America, right? So like I'm a consultant, so like there are industries that I help that the morals are the last thing that they consider.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like I had a client who we looked at how much they were paying their factory workers in Mexico, and it was like, how does anyone survive off of this? Like, so like I see that part of it, and it's yeah. I mean, I probably compromise more than I should, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think if in order to get to a place where I'm comfortable with the intersection of those two cultures, the answer for me too would be to be uncompromising. Because I mean, I can do consulting where I don't like endorse slave wages for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are things like that. Like before I was a consultant, I worked at UPS, and like one of those kind of I can't compromise this moments was when I realized my main job function was firing other people.
Like
it was basically I was getting the data and giving the executives reasons as to why someone should get fired, like why this truck driver should get fired and whatnot. And that that was one of the reasons I left that company. So yeah,
man. Hey, that's cool though.
Yeah,
that's wow, that's like really helpful.
No, I think it's something that if I had known from the start, it would have helped my path. Meaning because honestly, when I first graduated college, I just took the job that would pay me the most. Like I didn't consider anything else. Nothing against that.
It's worthy.
Yeah, nothing
worthy
against
to
that.
Consider. Yeah.
But if it's gonna affect you mentally and like it's gonna like spiritually like mess with you, then I would definitely think and consider those things before you commit to like selling your soul, pretty much.
Yeah, man. That's wow. That's really good.
Yeah.
I guess I only think about in the arts sector of how you can intersect with all those things. But I think, you nailed it. Like being authentic, not compromising, like those are things that help. I feel like that though could be confusing for someone, like if they want to, like uncompromising for a Christian, I feel like is very, what's the word? It's very obtuse in America. Like if you're uncompromising, you're very tone deaf and you're very obtuse.
Yeah.
Like stereotypically.
Yeah.
I know, I could imagine, and I can kind of critically think what that would look like in my life. But when I was a younger, more pious Christian, I would have thought, oh, uncompromising? Okay. Someone is not living up to my standard, not even God's standard.
Right.
If someone's not living up to my standard, I must reprimand them. I must be uncompromised. How dare you live in that way? Right. How dare you kill a baby? You know, how dare that might trigger somebody. Like, you know, I hope you get more views because of that. You could slay me. It's fine. You know, it's just like you know, like people. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
But overall, I think I like what you said.
No, but I totally agree with that. Like, and a lot of that I think is because of this westernized Christianity that people like seem to cling to for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And like if you look at, and I mean, I can imagine a younger version of myself doing exactly that.
Yeah.
But as a more like, I guess I don't know if this is the right term, but like as a more seasoned Christian who's more familiar with the Bible.
Yeah.
Like you know that even like Paul talked about how like food sacrificed to idols, if you eating that bothers other people, don't do it. But if you're okay with it in your own conscience, then go ahead, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. So like people, I don't think like a lot of Christians early on recognize the subtleties of that, of like how you can modify your behavior as long as it doesn't affect your faith to kind of help along the like babies in the faith. You know what I mean? And so like when people confuse that, we get these obtuse like the Westboro Church type Christians who have like really wild things to say, you know? I think you're absolutely right. That's a good point.
I think something that's helped me personally, I guess, live in different intersection. Or is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Intersection.
Yeah, I think like I've sought to see dignity in people who are different than me or anybody other than me.
Yeah.
I try. I'm not very good at it, but if someone when talking about like the LGBT community, when talking about I'm referencing just the Christian community. You
Right.
know how uncompromising might mean you have to be these type of things, but I'm like before you go ahead and like tell people what you're against. I think listening and trying to understand people, and like seeing and respecting their view,
Yeah.
I think that was my problem when I was younger in college. Like I met people who were different than me and I wouldn't think that what they had to say I would think that it had no value, but I'm trying to see it as like, okay, I think what you have to say actually has value. And let me try to find for myself why there's value there. And that requires a lot of like meta thinking and going outside of yourself, and I don't believe that. Like if I don't defend the faith, God will collapse. Like I don't believe that, I could have the weakest, like I believe God, to be a certain way. And if I fall short, that's chill. He was going to do his thing without me, whether I performed or not.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool for me, just trying to listen and find dignity in what people have to say.
Yeah. And I think people forget that the two top commandments Jesus gave was love your God, with all your heart, mind, soul, all that. And then right after he said, love your neighbor. And
Precisely.
with the parable of the Good Samaritan, it was obvious that you're supposed to love people who you like culturally are supposed to hate. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know how that got lost in the message. Like why people aren't putting that at the forefront of how they're supposed to behave. But as long as we have that lens, like we wouldn't have the issue that you're talking about, So absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much to be said about even that and like cultural Christianity and so much.
If you don't mind, that could be like a whole podcast episode onto itself, like in the future sometime if you want, if you get time. I would love to talk to you again.
I mean, there's a lot to be said.
Yeah.
I would gladly do it. I realize I have a lot more to say than I thought.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We're already at we're past an hour for sure.
Nice.
So once again, guys, make sure to check out James's music. Uzuhan is the name. I really like how you came up with that name.
Yeah.
And you tell that story on the When I Grow Up podcast. So go back and listen to James's episode on that podcast as well. That again, shout outs to the space crew. We got to use this really cool room. I've never felt this professional doing this podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's really nice especially if you don't have the equipment to do like this level of podcasting.
That's true. Yeah.
This is, I think, really
nice.
Yeah. Get to rent the room, get to rent the equipment. Use all the equipment here except for the cameras are by the space crew. So it'd be nice to use. So before we close the podcast, any last thoughts? Anything you wanted to say?
I know a lot of my listeners are actually like men, and I just want to say, men, it's okay to cry. It's okay to express yourself. It's okay to feel, and it doesn't make you less of a man. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. If you need to seek counseling, that's totally okay too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Dude, that's great.
I'm a huge advocate for counseling.
Dope.
It changed my life. So yeah.
Man, I love that.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and
thanks, man.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.